Welcome to MES College Marambally e-learning.
Yes, good afternoon all. Respected Principal, Chief Guest of the Day, Dr. Meera Pradhaban, dear participants and my dear colleagues. I am very happy to welcome one and all of you presented here. First of all, I would like to welcome Dr. Ajimspi Muhammad, Principal. In spite of his busy schedule, he joined every program conducted by Department of Logistics. With deep gratitude, I welcome you, sir. Next, I invite Dr. Meera Pradhaban, RUSA Project Fellow, DDU Kaushal Kendra. She completed her post-graduation in MBA from CUSAT and also did her PhD from CUSAT. She has been published a lot of papers in various journals. I'm sure this will be a useful session for you. I heartily welcome Dr. Meera to this occasion.
Thank you.
Next, I am delighted to welcome all the distinguished participants from various institutes. We received a registration from outside state, so I am very happy to welcome all the participants. And I also welcome all the faculty members from MES College Marambally. Once again, I welcome you all. Thank you. Next, I invite Principal Dr. Ajimspi Muhammad for inaugurating the session.
Thank you, Sajana. Chief guest and resource person, Dr. Meera Pradhaban, HOD of DWOC Logistics Department, Ms. Sajana, Coordinator Anjana Mahesan, and all my colleagues and all other students who are attending this webinar. Today I am very much delighted to the topic for the FDP is strategies for organizing literature review in research. Nowadays, while we are in the academic field, so much importance are given to research, postgraduate as well as postdoc, etc. We are giving much importance in the research field. And as a part of research, normally all the colleges, all the educational institutions are motivating their faculty members to do publications, to do research, and today the topic is relating to the literature review, one of the main part or major part of the research. While conducting a research, we should go for literature review. When the literature review is good, normally the research work will be good. That's the thing. So today I am very much happy to learn that Dr. Meera Pradhaban, she was the former faculty of Logistics Department, DWOC Department, and I got a very good information, very good profile about Dr. Meera Pradhaban when she was working here. The department was very active in all the senses and she coordinated everything in a nice manner. On behalf of MES College Marambally, I once again Dr. Meera Pradhaban to this faculty development program. And I congratulate the department because the Department of Logistics in these 3 to 4 months, they have conducted a variety of programs, including international webinars, national webinars, this type of faculty development programs, etc. I congratulate the Department of Logistics for taking effort for conducting these type of academic activities, and I wish all the success. And with all your permission, I declare that faculty development program is inaugurated. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. Meera for the session.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, one and all. I'm extremely thankful to MES Marambally College for inviting me to share whatever little knowledge I have regarding research. And I'm happy that I was only for a short period I was a faculty in the college, but still from the principal I've received, I heard very active. I heard like I was very active, so I was just very happy to hear such comments. And today I'm here to discuss with you some of the tips which I can give you regarding the literature review. Okay, so normally what happens is when so many researches or workshops are being conducted, people are more concentrated on various type of analysis, and a little importance is given to this particular aspect called literature review. And I must say that if you are in the right track, if you know how to review the literature smartly, then half of your research work has been done. Otherwise what happens is, like, towards the end of the your PhD study, you will find a lot of difficulties in handling or literature review part. So when such analysis workshops or programs are being conducted, it's quite easy, because for every analysis there is certain steps, or for every software to be run there is certain steps. But when it comes to literature review, more or less, you actually need to develop certain skills. So I'm here to discuss with you, only to share my experience. That is some of the tips which I have used to conduct or used to organize my literature review or my studies when I do my PhD or when I write my papers. And so with the permission, I start, and I believe that most of the participants who are there, either they could be the beginners in doing their research, or is it like, once they have finished their PhD, I would like to know what is the majority crowd is, like whether they are in the beginning stage of the literature review, or I mean like their PhD work, or is it like you can mention your comments in the chat box if you have any suggestions, or if you have any questions to be asked. Okay, so I believe that majority of the participants here could be either enrolled for their PhD program, or they are in the process of doing the research. So with the note, let me start my presentation. When I start about literature review, towards the presentation, I would like to cover these portions. Like, I'll just give you a brief outline on what literature review is. Then I'll give you a brief outline on how you can search for literatures. And I'll give you some tips on how you can organize your literature. And then finally, a brief idea on how you can write literature review. So under the sections, I have divided it into various topics. Okay, so first one, I'll start with introduction to literature review, and I hope, like, most of you will be very familiar with what literature review is like. So towards your, when you start your PhD program, the most and the first important thing is that you have to searching for various resources in various journals or books or whatever it could be. So you should have an idea on what literature review is. Normally what happens is, like, without knowing what literature review is, or what are the process you have to go through, or what has to be done in the literature review, you will start your research. So automatically what happens is, like, you will not be knowing what to do, how to do, you will do something, and then finally you feel that your research is a wholesome, tiresome process. Okay, so it's not true that. That's in the sense, like, if you actually know how to do your literature review, the 60% of your work will be done, and when you start writing your PhD thesis at the end, you can save yourself from having spondylosis. Okay, so that is my suggestion. And then I'll tell you what literature review is: a comprehensive summary of previous literature researches on the topics. You will have a topic, and you will have an idea on this has to be done. So what you will be doing, you will be reviewing the literature. So you will have a comprehensive summary on what are the previous research which is being conducted on that particular topic. And finally what happens is, like, once you do the review, you should be able to get some theoretical base for that particular research. Okay, so I'm not going much into all the definitions or all the terminologies in research, which you will be learning in your course during your coursework period. So there are so many theories on the basis of how you can do literature reviews, like there is Bloom's taxonomy, etc. But here, what I would like to share is that that is from my own experiences, like what I had done. I'm not going into any of the theories. Okay, so I've divided the literatures into two categories. Like, you can see primary literatures and secondary literatures. So primary literatures basically means that the original research work which you will be able to see in the journals or dissertations or conferences, conference proceedings, as books or reports, etc. Like it will be the report of the original research work which is being done. So that is what I call it as a primary literature. And secondary literature, I call it as, it is the summarized form of the original research which is being conducted. Like it will be in the form of some review papers, like somebody might have done an original research, and you will be reviewing all those journals, and then you will write your own review paper. So it could be like that, or it could be some guideline books, or books, reports, monographs, etc. So these are the two categories, broader categories of literatures which you can see. Okay. And then why you should do this particular literature review is because, for example, let me tell you, suppose your topic is you wanted to do a study on digital transformation and how it affects mental health of the people. Okay. So when I say literature review, what are the things you should look for? You have to know the literatures. What are the surveyed literatures? You have to summarize the information, and you have to critically analyze the information, and finally you have to find the missing gaps. That is what we call it as a research gaps. So keep it in mind, like when you do the literature review, the first and the foremost thing that you should find out is the research gap. So when you do the review, that should be your motto, or that should be your aim when you do the review in the initial stages. And then basically, when we talk about different types of research papers, right? When you start looking for literature review, why I'm talking about research papers is because 80% of your references will be from the journal articles or from such research papers. So throughout my presentation, I'll be giving more concentration into such research papers. Okay. So here you can see when you go for, I'm talking about the papers which you will be submitting to the journals for your for the evaluation. Okay. So when you see that, so this is the screenshot of one of the journal. When you look into looking for the submission, this is one of the guidelines that particular journal has given. It is a journal from Sage. So you can see here, you can see conceptual submission, you can see quantitative submission, you can see qualitative submission, you can see mixed method submission, and you can also see articles for the viewpoints and commentary, publications in review, research notes, and industry viewpoint section. Okay, so here this is from the point of view of the of writing a research paper. You could see these many types of research papers when you wanted to submit an article into a journal for publication. Okay, and you might have noticed that they have also given guidelines on what could be the possible word limit. Conceptual paper should not exceed the word limit of 8,000 words, and quantitative should not exceed the word count of 8,000 words likewise. So I'm not going much into these type of research categories, because as a beginner, you may not be able to understand what is these category, or what is the difference between these categories. So what I would like to classify is that for beginners, basically when you're looking for research papers, please do understand that majority of the papers belongs to either in these three categories. Either it could be empirical papers, or it could be conceptual papers, or it could be meta-analysis papers. Okay, so these are the three broader types of papers which you can see in any journal. Okay, so you will have a doubt, what is a conceptual paper? Okay, so conceptual papers means that you might have certain concept with you, where you may not be actually doing a literature survey, or you may not be doing any field work to collect the data, and then you do the analysis, and then you find out your results. Conceptual papers simply give some idea, or they will have a conceptual clarity regarding certain subjects. Okay, so that is what you call it as a conceptual paper. Okay, so the thing is, like, how will you identify whether this paper is a conceptual paper, or whether it is an empirical paper or meta-analysis paper? Okay, one thing is that when you search in Google Scholar, or in any platform, you might get a list of papers like this. Okay, so this is one of the screenshot of a journal, where when you read the topic itself, you may be able to identify, like you read here, it is social isolation in mental health, a conceptual and methodological review. Okay, so here they have only done conceptual and methodological review regarding that particular topic. They are not actually collecting or any data and then finding out certain findings or analysis. They are only giving the conceptual clarity. Suppose if you are not able to understand this from the topic, then what you can do is you can read it from the abstract. Okay, so when you read the abstract, they'll automatically will tell you like this paper is regarding the gives a conceptual clarity, and this is for the further clarification of the concepts. So this is how you will be able to identify whether it is a conceptual paper or empirical paper or meta-analysis paper. So initial stages, like when you looking for topics or when you wanted to search for topics, such papers will give you a lot of informations. Okay, so that is what you call it as conceptual paper. The other category you can see is the meta-analysis paper, and this is one of the best and the trickiest way to do the literature review, because meta-analysis paper means that so many people have done or conducted the research study. So here in meta-analysis paper, or the person who do the meta-analysis or write the meta-analysis paper, what he or she does is that he or she will review the papers based on that subject which has been already conducted by somebody else. Okay, so this is a kind of secondary literature. Okay, so why I told you is that this is one of the important areas, because when you initially start your research study, you may not be able to know, okay, who started this particular concept, or who have done further analysis on the topic. You will not have clarity regarding any such aspects. So first thing that you can do is to understand or to finalize the topic, you can look in for the conceptual papers, and then you can start reading meta-analysis paper in that particular topic. So here, what is one of the biggest advantages, like when you read one single paper itself, you will be able to understand the history behind that particular subject. Okay, so which are the person who have conducted that particular study, for how many years in that particular area the research is being going on. All these areas you will have a clarity regarding that, and on the basis of that you can start searching for papers. So that would indeed help you to save time, and you will be able to understand how you should go about doing the search of literatures. Okay, so how will you understand whether it is a meta-analysis paper? Like I've told you before, either you can get it from the title. Okay, it is also called a systematic review. So you can, it might be written in the title, or you read the abstract and you will be able to understand. They will be clearly mentioning, okay, this review is from this particular period, like from 1973 to 2018, and from these are the journals which we have reviewed. So you will be able to understand it from that. So that is the second best thing. And the third one is empirical papers. So here, these empirical papers are from the actual research studies, where you will be you will be collecting the data either in a quantitative data or qualitative data, and you will have, from the analysis you will make the findings, and these will be the majority of the papers which you will be seeing when you search for the literatures. So similarly, you will be able to understand empirical papers when you read the title as well as the abstract. Okay, so the first thing is, like, you should understand, okay, these are the three categories of the papers, and you should first decide on, suppose if you are in your starting stage, you should looking for conceptual papers as well as meta-analysis papers. And once when you understand the history about the topic, and when you have clarity regarding the topic, you should go for the empirical papers. Okay, so that is my suggestion. That is how I was doing. And then literature review, when I say, it's not like that has to be concluded within the coursework period, or initially when you start the research, we say that in the first stages we say that literature review. Okay, so let me tell you, like, literature review, you can't stop literature review once you have find out the variables, or once you have finalized the topic. You will not be able to stop the literature review, because you have to review the literatures throughout the study. But only difference is that initially you may not be able to understand how to read a paper or how to search for the topics, how to frame title or how to find out the variable. But when you understand all these things and when you go towards the end of your PhD submission, you will be able to understand how you have to find out the correct literatures. Okay, so I'm dividing the literature review into certain processes. Okay, so first thing is you have to do a literature review for identifying topics. Then to refine the topics to a title. Refining the topic means when you have a topic, you will not be able to do a research. You have to narrow it down. Okay, when I say, okay, I wanted to do a study on how digital transformation affects mental health, then there will be so many digital platforms, there will be social medias, and there are so many digital platforms, and I can't do a study on all the platforms. So I have to refine it. I have to take one particular area and then I have to do the study. So that is what you call it as refining the topics to title. So that is the second stage. And the third stage is you have to do literature review to find out your variables, and mostly framing the title and variables are being interconnected. And then you also have to do literature review to find out the theory for your study. And then for fixing the methodology, you have to read the papers. And then for development, to finding out the instrument for data collection, either it is a questionnaire or any sort of instrument, you have to do the literature review. For analysis, for writing the analysis, for understanding the analysis, you have to do literature review. And finally, once you have the findings, or after your analysis, if you wanted to do your discussions or if you wanted to report the findings also, you have to do the literature review. So it is a never-ending process, like from the starting, from the beginning and towards the end, you have to do the literature review. Only difference is that beginning you will have a little bit trouble in understanding how you have to do it, but towards the end, you will be more familiar with the literatures. Okay, so the second thing is like how you can search for the literature. Okay, so that is very important part, because normally if you wanted to find or if you wanted to do a research, what you will be doing is you will be simply sitting and thinking, okay, so what should be the topic I should be doing the research. So that should not be the case. Instead of that, first thing that you should learn is how to read research papers. So once you learn that process, then as a second stage, what you can do is you can do a smart search for the literatures. So why I say is the smart search is because there are so many literatures which has been available in the platform, or either it could be journals or books or whatever it could be. But what you have to do is you only have a limited period of time and you have to search the most required one, especially people who do the research papers. So if they are planning to write a research paper, they may not have much time. Okay, so they have to understand how you have to refine the literatures. Okay, so for that, first thing is you should know where you have to search. Okay, so there are so many platforms, whether it could be paid platforms or it could be open access platform, where you can actually search for literatures or search for journal papers. Okay, maybe you can take a screenshot of this. So you, as an open sources or as a websites, the first and the foremost thing you will look in is the Google Scholar. Google Scholar is like a normal search engine where you can look in for various papers, and all the papers which appear in Google Scholar is not free of cost, or it is not open. Many of them you have to pay, or there are open access papers also. Okay, so the most important platform which all the scholars will be looking in will be the Google. And please don't search for some topic in the Google. Okay, so just search the topic in the Google Scholar, so you will be able to get so many research articles from Google Scholar. And then you can see, if you wanted to see repositories, like if you wanted to know what are the previous research studies or PhD thesis which has been conducted, you can, for Indian theses, you can go for Shodhganga. Or if you wanted to know what are the theses or PhD studies which has been done by foreign universities, you can look in for open access theses and dissertations. And there are so many other open access platforms also, like open access directories for getting a list of all the open access sites. Okay. And then you have OECHI library, then ERIC, then Microsoft Academic, DOAJ. For books also there is DOAB. Then June, then Springer. You have an open access journal platform itself. Okay, so these are some of the open access platforms. But when you do your PhD study or when you actually write some papers, what I would recommend you is like if you suppose you wanted to look in for some topic, you better go for such journals where you will be able to find out the topics, because if you are being able to identify the top journals and when you search in that particular journals, you will be able to get good papers. Understand? If you are not being able to get good papers, what happens is like you will not be in the right track when you do the literature review. And I agree that if you have to get good papers, like you have to do actual payment. But what you can do is, if your college is not being able to afford the subscription to top journals, many of the universities will be having subscription towards all these journals. So what you can do is like you can make one-day payment to visit to a library in any of the universities nearby, and then you can search in these particular journals, and then you will be able to download the papers. Okay, so that is what I recommend first. And then if you are not being able to get such papers, you go in for the open access papers. Okay, so these are some of the important websites where you will be able to get good research papers. Okay, so you can take screenshots of all these things if you wanted to look in, refer this for further use. And then there are certain tips to remember when you start your search. That is, make sure all the journals are peer reviewed. Okay, so that is what I said. When you searching for good journals or the top journals, what happens is like it is automatically reviewed papers, or it will be peer reviewed papers. So you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that is why I have already suggested you to look in for all the top class journals. And second thing is, you have to check the citation of each research paper. Citation simply means that suppose if I'm writing a paper and if somebody else is like quoting or taking my findings, or they wanted to report my findings, like they'll be citing my paper. Okay, so that is what you call it as citation. Okay, so when you see a paper, if you see there are 100 citation, that means that that paper is that relevant. Okay, so I'll just show you how you will look in for citation. So that is the second thing you have to look in when you wanted to download a paper. And the second thing is date of publication. That is very, very important, because even when you write your PhD thesis or when you write research papers also, they'll always ask for research papers or PhD literature review, where you have to produce the recent literatures, recent papers. Okay, suppose if you are doing your study in 2020, you should concentrate on giving more research papers on and more writing into for the past 10, maybe from 2010 to 2020. The more the publication is towards the recent time, it will be good. Okay, so that is one important thing, because normally what people do is like they might be starting their PhD research, and down the line after 5 years only, maybe they'll be writing the thesis, and they may not be reporting the latest literature reviews or latest publication in that particular area. So please don't forget that you have to report the latest publications or latest research papers in that particular area. Okay. And the second thing is how to search. So normally what we normally do is like you go to Google or Google Scholar, and then you will simply type social media, and you will get a lot of papers which is being related to social media. Either it could be technical papers, or it could be papers related to some other thing, and you will be very confused, like which are the areas which I have to look into. Okay, so suppose if you are not a technical person, you should not go on doing social media in the aspect of a technical point of view if you are not being able to get help from somebody else. So what you can do is, when you search, first thing that you have to do is you have to prepare a list of keywords and synonyms. Okay, so if it is a social media, just prepare a list of keywords, like it could be social media or Facebook, Instagram, likewise, and also you prepare the synonyms for that. Okay, so why I told you is because when you start searching, suppose you wanted to do a study on social media and tourism. what you can do is, first thing is you take the Google Scholar and the search keyword should be social media and should be capital letter, AND, and should be capital letter and give tourism. Okay, so what happens is like only the relevant papers in both the categories, it will be related like social media and tourism. Only such papers will be appearing in your first pages. Okay, so that is one thing. You use and in capital letter between the two words. And the second technique which you can use is, you can use similar way, you can use or. If it is, that is why I asked you to prepare a list of synonyms. So you can use social media or should be in capital and then use Facebook. So you can say social media or Facebook. You will get papers in social media as well as you will also get papers related to Facebook. And then another technique is that you have to give a hyphen. Okay, suppose if I wanted to get papers on Facebook related to studies on Facebook, but as you all know, it could be studies related to technical one as well as it could be studies related to social sciences as well. So what I'll be doing is, when I give Facebook space hyphen and when I write TECH, this technical papers will be excluded. Okay, so whatever the word which you will give after hyphen, that will be excluded, and only the relevant papers in that area except the technological papers will appear. So it will be very easy for you to look in. Otherwise it will be combined papers on, you will have Facebook studied in social sciences, or you will have Facebook studied in a technical aspect as well. So that will be very difficult. So when you give hyphen, that is whatever be the word, you give space and then you put hyphen and then you give whatever be the word you wanted to exclude. And then normally all the searches will come or papers will come under that particular topic itself. And then other thing is like, you can, if you specifically want something to be searched, what you can do is you can give that word in inverted commas. Okay, so that specific papers will come. Suppose if I want something specifically on Facebook analytics, you can give it in inverted commas. So I'll be able to get only papers in Facebook analytics. So these are some of the techniques which I use to search. You may get a number of search techniques. So these are some of the techniques which I used to do to search for the correct papers. And the other thing is like, this is how the Google Scholar screen will look like. You will have a scholar.google.co.in. When you give that, this is how the screen will appear. So you can see here on the left side, you can see the dates. So suppose, like I've told you, the publication date is very important. So when you search, if you only need to get the papers which is being published during 2020, just click on since 2020. So you'll be only getting the search options or papers in 2020 in the initial pages or in the first pages. Or if I want it in 2016, just give that. Or if you have to fix a custom range, that is from 2010 to 2020, when you click on custom range, you can give the option like 2010 to 2020. So only the relevant articles will appear. Okay. The other important thing which you can include is you can create alert. Understand? So when you create, when you click on alert, they'll be asking you regarding certain keywords, etc. So when you type it, whenever be the papers published in that particular, with that particular keyword or in that particular area, you will get notification in your mail. Okay, so you will be able to understand. So suppose you might have started your PhD 3 years back and you wanted to know what are the current advances which has been happened, because every year so many papers will get published. So just create the alert. So every time when some paper is being published or uploaded in Google Scholar, you will get alert on that. Okay. And the second thing I've told you have to look in for citation. Okay, so this is how the papers will appear, and you can see the title of the paper here, and you can see the author name here, and you can see in which journal they have published it, and you can also see the date in which they have published it here. Okay, and the other important thing you have to look into is, you can see here, it is cited by 1996, that is 1996 people have cited this particular paper. So that means that this paper is very relevant. Okay, so when you go to the second paper, you can see it is cited by 223 peoples. So it is less relevant than the first one. So you can accordingly you can get the papers, most relevant papers from the Google Scholar. Or here you can see where the sources is being find out. Then the other important option you can see is the right corner is you can create your own profile, as well as you can create my library. Suppose you may be searching for the paper sitting at home and you don't have option to download it. So what you can do is you can click on my library and just save or mark it in your library, and when you visit the university or when you go to the college, you can simply download it. Okay, so this is how the Google Scholars pages will look like, and this is one of the most widely used search engine for looking into research articles. Okay, the other important option which you can see in Google Scholar is like I've told you initially, like for one paper there will be a citation. Okay, so the one technique is that when you click on that first paper, there will be an option that will be appearing, that is search within citing articles. So that means that whoever be the people who have cited this particular paper will appear if you click on that particular option. Okay, so if you want, suppose you might be opening that particular paper because you find it very important or very relevant. So once you click on this particular box, what happens is like papers close to that particular study will appear. Okay, so here also you can save time or you can save your effort, because you actually be able to identify what are the most relevant papers in your area. Okay, the other way of searching is like you can search with the name of the author. Okay, so that will happen towards towards the middle, when you get to know how to read a research paper and who are the authors, because for certain topics there will be people who will be reviewing or periodically doing researches in that particular area. Okay, so once if you know the person, if you know the author, what you can do is just type the name of the author into Google Scholar and you will be able to get all the papers published by that particular person, or you can check their profile as well. Or you can also search with the name of the source, like if you know the journal name or if you know which journal, which paper, you can actually type it over and then you can get the search result as well. Okay, and the other important thing to refine your search is that in certain journals, when you open that particular paper, suppose when I search in Google Scholar, I was able to find out this particular topic, and when I opened that particular paper, what you will be able to see is towards the right you can see there is recommended articles. Recommended articles means this is being recommended by that particular journal itself, which is very close to what you have searched for. Understand? So that is also another way or tricky way to refine your search. That is, for certain journals, they'll give you your recommended articles which you can actually search in for. And the other important thing, other way to refine your search is like, suppose you might have found a particular research paper and then you started reading that and you find it very relevant. So what you can do is, in that paper, towards the end, you can see a section called references. Okay, and then what you can do is you can see the author or journal. So that means that this particular research paper has used has quoted or cited the references of these particular papers. So what you can do is you can go to Google Scholar and then you can search specifically with the author name or with the title or the journal name for this particular paper. So that is also yet another way to refine your search. And once you get all your literatures or all your papers being downloaded, you should always remember that when you do the literature review, what is that you have to collect from the literature review? First thing is you should know the historical background. That is what I said. Even though you will be studying some topic which is very latest, still you should be able to understand, or you have to report what are the historical background of that particular topic or that particular area. And then second thing you have to collect is the current research context. Okay, maybe in the past they might have studied about some particular title or a topic, and then they might have refined it, and now into 2020 the area of research in that particular area could be different. So you have to have a flow from the historical background to the current research context. And the third important thing is you should be able to collect some relevant theories and concepts related to that particular subject. Okay, there will be some theories which will be connected to your model or to your study. So you should be collecting certain theories and concepts related to that. And the fourth thing is you should be able to identify the most suitable definition for your research study. Okay, so there will be a lot of definitions given by a lot of research authors. So you should be able to identify what are the definitions, because in your thesis you should be able to report some definitions and you have to frame your own operational definitions. So during that time it will be very helpful. And the other thing, most important thing that you have to find out is the research gap. Okay, so you have certain variables and you should be able to identify what is the gap in that particular study. Okay, so only if you've been able to identify the gap, you will be able to study your problem. Okay, so suppose if it has been already studied by someone, or if someone has already done research in that particular point, there is no point you doing the research. So the most important thing is you should be able to find out the research gap. And you should collect the supporting evidence for your problems or issues. That normally comes towards the end, where you will be doing your discussions and findings, discussions regarding your findings. You should be able to support it with certain problems, with some literatures. So that also you have to collect. Okay. So the next and the most important thing is organizing the literature. Okay, so organizing the literature means most of the people, what they'll be doing is they'll download the paper. You could see the downloaded paper, scrambled everywhere. Maybe all the papers will be in the desktop, all the papers will be in the folder, and you will maybe after some time, after 2 or 3 months, if you wanted to find out some paper, you may not be knowing where to go about searching for that paper. And this process will be very difficult if you don't do an organized method of literature review. It will be very difficult during like when you start writing your PhD thesis. Okay, because you have to write your statement of the problem, background of the study, then you have to do literature review, and then you have to write the theoretical discussion, then towards findings, discussion, everywhere you have to mention the literature. And all the papers you may not be using in all the areas. Okay, so you will not be able to identify where the paper is. So if you properly organize your literature, and if you properly write your literature review in the beginning itself, like most of the people, when you do your coursework, that is towards the end, they will ask you to submit a literature review. Okay, so if you do that properly, I'll say 60% of your work is done. Okay, so what I've done is I have divided it into two. Like you can see, traditional approach of organizing the literature and modern approach of organizing the literature. So traditional approach, as you all know, like you will be creating folders. So all those people, like, who are not used to technology, or if you don't want to use any of the softwares, at least make sure that you have a folder for PhD and you have a subfolders. Right, you have a folder for your books, you have a folder for your conceptual papers, empirical papers, meta-analysis papers, reports, theories, as well as even when you do each stages, like for analysis you keep a separate folder, or for any stages you keep a separate folder. And most importantly, when you download the paper, when you save the paper, just save the paper, just save the paper with the year of publication first. That is, just save the paper. Like suppose if the paper has been published in 2003, just give 2003 comma, name of the author, and comma, if you want to know which is whether it is empirical paper or conceptual paper, just give some short form, EMP or conceptual. So why this is important is, like when you wanted to write your literature review, or when you wanted to write your PhD thesis, like reviewing the thesis, and you have to, there is a best way to review your literature or write your literature is like you can write it in a chronological order. Okay, so you will be easily be able to identify, okay, so which is the latest paper and which is the paper which I have to start from the first. So when you save it like this, you will be able to identify the paper which comes first and which comes the last. So this is traditional method. Okay, so I'll just tell you how you have to go about doing the literature review through various stages which I have mentioned before. Okay, so like I've told you, first thing is you will be searching for literatures when you wanted to identify the topic. Okay, so let me tell you the most important, like when you search for the topic, it's better that you do the mind mapping instead of sitting and reading all the papers, and you may not be able to understand what it is. There are so many technical terminologies when you read the research paper. So you may not be able, because you may not have completed your coursework. So to find out your topic or to refine your title, the best thing that you can do is mind mapping. Okay, so I think most of you will be familiar with this terminology like mind mapping. That is, I've shown an example here. Suppose you wanted to do a study on multi-sided platforms. So what you will be, or digital platforms, what you can do is, first thing is you can search in for literatures in Google Scholar and just analyze on which are the areas where such studies has been conducted. Okay, so that should be your first stage. Like you can see here, studies on service platforms, then here asset sharing platform, product platform, or search platform, media content platform. Likewise, you will get certain classifications. Okay, so that is why I told you have to refine from the topic to the title. So your first stage is over. That is, you understood that in your study from digital transformation or digital platform, you wanted to study about any one platform in that. Okay, that is only possible. Okay, and then in that particular area also you may see subsections. Okay, so communication platform, you can see WeChat, WhatsApp or Skype or whatever it could be. So in that also, if you want to refine, you can actually refine it. So likewise, you do a mind mapping. Okay, so you will be able to understand which are the dimensions in that particular topic, which are the sub dimensions in that particular topic, and how many researches has been conducted in each areas. So it will be very easy for you to identify the topic as well as refine your topic from your topic to the title. Okay, so you can also refer this particular paper for that. You can take a screenshot of this. It's not free, actually. You have to download it. That is, this is being published by William D. Kernan. It is the title of the paper is Using Mind Mapping to Identify Research Topics, a lesson for teaching research methods. So this is a very good paper which you can refer for, or if you wanted to learn how to do mind mapping for finding out the research topic, you can actually refer in this particular paper. Okay, and moving on, this is what I told you, traditional approach, people who don't want to use the softwares. And this mind mapping can also be done with the softwares. And two of the important softwares which I have found is the Marginote and Dozer. Okay, in these, most of the reference management software, you will not be able to do mind mapping. So, but I found Marginote where you can actually do mind mapping with the softwares, and those are also you can do mind mapping with the softwares. So here, but the one of the disadvantages is that for both you have to pay. Okay, so if you don't want to pay, like you keep a paper and then, or in the Word, you do a mind mapping of your research topic. Okay. And the second stage is refining to title. That is, now you know what you wanted to study. And now what is your next step? That is, you have to find out you have to refine the title with the variables. You can only refine your title if you find out the variables or what you wanted to study. Okay, so for that, this is the method I have used. What I have done is, like, I have whatever be the paper I am reading, I'll be classifying it into various sections during the refining of the title. That is, I'll be writing the name of the author and the year. Then I'll be I'll be evaluating what is their study setting. That is, whether this has been done in tourism or whether it is done in manufacturing industry or whatever be the industry of that particular paper. I'll be writing it down. And next thing is, what is the type of the paper, whether it is empirical paper or conceptual, whatever be the type. Then I'll try to find out what is independent variable in that particular paper, dependent variable in that particular paper. I hope you will be learning about all these things when you do your coursework. So what is independent and what is dependent variables. Okay, so I'll just write down what are the independent variables, what are the dependent variables in that particular study, and if other variables, like sometimes they might have used mediating variable or moderating variable, that also I'll list down. So one of the advantage of this is that once I get this list, I'll be able to understand what are the independent variables which has been studied and what are the dependent variables which has been studied, what are the connections which has been studied. So if I know all these details, there is no point in doing the similar study. So I have to rephrase or reframe it in another way. Okay, so this is one thing I'll be doing. I was doing when I do the literature review. And the most important thing is that if you have the list like this, when you do your progress presentation or open defense, whatever it is very easy for you to copy paste it in your slide and then do the presentation. So this is the format which I used to prepare when while framing title. And then specifically, once you know your variables and you have refined your title, then what I'll be doing is like I'll be closely looking into each variables. That is how you should be searching. Okay, once you know your title, you know your variables, then I'll be closely looking into each variables. So each variable, so variables in the sense that something you have an independent or something you have a dependent variable or any other variables in your study. Okay, so beginners, you understand that when you do a study, if it is questionnaire method and all, you have to develop a model. Okay, so when in that model, you should have different variables in that. Okay, so which you might be learning about it in detail later. So for each variable, for example, one of my variable was perceived value. So I take first variable, then I'll be closely looking into what are the studies in that. That is, what are the authors, year, what is the antecedents of that particular variable, and what are the consequences of that variable. Okay, so antecedents means what has been studied, like you have a connection, like independent variable comes first and dependent variable will be connected to independent variable. Okay, so independent variable are the cause variable and dependent variable are the effect variable. So how perceived value has been studied before. So that is what antecedents means. So how is this perceived value being studied? And consequences means what are the effect of this perceived value. So you will be able to identify what are the variables which will be connected. So I'll be having a list of antecedents and consequence of perceived value itself. And if I wanted to give some remarks, I'll be writing that. So this is one format I have followed. So you will be very clear on what are the dimensions of perceived value which you have to study, and what are the effect or consequences of perceived value which has been studied. And please don't worry if you don't understand all these terminologies, because you will be learning all these things. I've told you, like, this is towards the third step, right? And then the next important thing is, like, when you download certain papers, you will feel they have given more important to the theoretical concepts. You might have seen certain theories which is being related to your study. So what I'll be doing is, like, I'll be creating a separate folder for this, and then I'll save it, because I should be able to understand and analyze the theories as well. Okay, so that is one thing. And the next step is, like, once you do all these things, you have to actually frame your methodology, research methodology, because you have to know whether you should go for qualitative study, quantitative study, or any other methodologies. Then whether it is a questionnaire method or whether it is an interview method, all these things you have to study. So from then, when you come to research methodology, you will have only a few set of papers with you. So from that, you should be able to fix what is the methodology which you have to do. So what I'll be doing is, like, I'll write the name of the study here or the author's name, and then I'll understand what is the approach. I'll list out the approach which is being done, and what is the method that has been used, whether it is a questionnaire method, whether it is an interview method, whatever it is. Then I'll also note what is the sample size and what kind of sample that they have taken in that particular study. And I'll also write down what is the method of analysis which that they have taken. Okay, so this is the format I'll be preparing. So towards research methodology, you might have only a very few papers where you wanted to analyze and bring out your methodological concept. And from that, the next thing is, once okay, my instrument for data collection is the questionnaire method, then I'll be doing is, like, I'll have this format. That is, I have to develop a scale. Like I've told you, when you go for a questionnaire method, the thing is, like, you should collect, or you should take standardized scale which is being developed by other authors. Okay, so that is the most common method or most of the researchers are adopting. So you should take that particular scale. So for that, there could be n number of scale. for example, I've told you perceived value. Okay, perceived value has been studied in other contexts using Perwell scale. But when it comes to tourism context, they have specifically studied using Tour-Perwell scale. Okay, so likewise, you have to specify on the scale. So for that, I'll be preparing. Then I'll have a few papers on that. Where they have mentioned the scale, and then the questions will be given. In many of the research papers, you may not be able to see the entire questions and all. So for only those important papers, I'll take up and I'll just prepare a list of the name of the scale, who is the author, who have talked about it, and in what industry they have studied. So suppose if that particular scale has been studied in manufacturing industry, you may not be able to apply it in a hospitality industry. So likewise, you have to list it down. Okay, so this is what I'll be using. This is the format which I used to do when I wanted to develop an instrument. And the other thing is like for analysis, discussions and findings, I never used to do all these things because you might have a very few papers in those contexts. So I'll be saving it in a separate folder. Okay, so this is a traditional approach where you will be, preparing, you will be using Word and you will do all these things. But now it is very easy with the modern softwares because you have a lot of reference manager softwares. Okay, so here the most widely used one is the Mendeley and Zotero. Okay, both are free. So what you can do is you can go to, I was using Mendeley, so you can go to www.mendeley.com. You can download it and you can actually organize all these literatures in your Mendeley software. Then you can see Zotero, you can see EndNote. Many people used to say that this is one of the best tool for reference, managing your references, but you have to actually pay for it. Then you can see JabRef, then Quikka, Paperpile, Papers, RefWorks, all these things you can see, but the most and widely used one is Mendeley and Zotero. So you can try out anything. First you try out the free versions, and then you just, if you wanted to have more options, you can go for paid one as well. Okay, and then so here, suppose I've told you like most of the softwares, most widely used one is the Zotero, Mendeley and Doser, and this is one of the comparison which I got from doser.org. So here you can see there are so many subsections where they have actually divided it. Okay, so they have divided operating system and languages. Okay, so and the three softwares are given like Doser, Zotero and Mendeley is there. So you can actually see whether that particular feature is available in that particular software. So Windows, I say, if in Doser it supports Doser, Zotero and Mendeley. Likewise, they have classified it into information management approach, cost, reference management, writing and add-ons, PDF management, file management, and then socialize and collaboration, literature search and discovery, note task and information management, document drafting and outline. Okay, so this is, this might change when the software is being updated. But when you look into that, just go to www.doser.org. You will be able to see the comparison. And suppose you should be able to identify which is that I wanted. Suppose your one of the most important criteria is you wanted to have a mind mapping software in the tool which you are using. So you can search it here. Okay, so Doser, you can see a mind mapping software. But here in Mendeley and Zotero, you will not have a mind mapping feature or facility. So accordingly, you choose which is the software you want, and it is very user friendly. You will not have any hurdle in using those softwares. Okay, so you can refer that. And I'll just quickly go through one of the software that is Mendeley, which I was using was the Mendeley. So here I'll just give you a brief outline on how it has to be used. It's very easy, like you are using Word or any other software, it's very easy. Like you can see on the top, you can see a lot of options like file, edit, view, tools, help, etc. And here on the left side, what you can see is, suppose in literature search, if you wanted to search some literature, you need not go to take the Chrome and then do Google search and all. What you can do is directly search your literatures in the Mendeley itself. You can do that. And then here you can see a lot of options. Like if you wanted to have certain like folders, you can actually create folders. And if you wanted to, sort it as recently added items, you can do that. You can create favorite list. So you can actually, organize it like I've told you initially. You have to make it into different folders, which you can do it in this software as well. And here also, suppose if you upload the paper, that is once you install this Mendeley from Mendeley website, then what is the next step you have to do is you have to add the paper or the folder. Okay, so you might have a folder or a paper where it has been downloaded. Just click on here add, and then it shows two options, like whether you wanted to add a file or a folder, you can add it. So automatically all the papers will appear here. Here in this screenshot, there are so many papers only because it's my Mendeley desktop. So that is why, otherwise it will be blank. Okay, so you can see all the papers which is being listed here. And the most important thing or most attractive thing is you can see it's been sorted as the name of the author here, the title of the paper here, the year of the publication, the journal name, and when you have added it. Okay, so it is very easy for you to consolidate it. And you can, if you wanted to filter it, you can use it on the left side. If you click on some author, only the papers, uploaded by that particular author, that is downloaded by you and uploaded it. Okay, so that will appear here in the Mendeley. And the other important thing is on the right side, you can actually, consolidate it. Like you can see here, type. Okay, so it automatically appears. Suppose if you wanted to make some changes, you can manually do it here. If you wanted to change the type, like if you wanted to make it as a book or whatever it is, you can give it here. If you want to edit the title or author's name, anything. And you can actually read the abstract here. It will be given in this. And the most important thing is when you click on the notes here, after reading this particular paper, if you wanted to write some notes regarding that particular paper, you can actually write it in the note option. So after a few days, if you wanted to find out what you have mentioned about that particular paper, you can come back, then click on that particular paper and click on this note. It will be available there. Okay. And the other options I've told you, like when you click on the file, what you can see is I've told you can add file, add folders, or the most important thing is you can import it. Okay, so if you have some other libraries or some other, or libraries which you are using, you can actually import it from that. Okay, and all the other options which you normally have. Okay, and if you click on the edit option, you can actually do the editing, like you can delete, cut it, copy paste, all those things you can do it. And the next one is view. That is also very important because, I've told you when you have to manually edit it. Like you have to maintain your citation when you do the literature review. Citation style in the sense, when you write the paper or when you see the research papers, you might have seen, people who have cited it. Okay, for example, I'll just show you. Okay, see, here in this paper, you can see. Okay, so here in this paper, you can see this statement they have mentioned and they have told Kotler 1991. Okay, so this is what you call it as citation. So likewise, you have to cite if you are taking some statements or if you are using some statements of other people. Okay, so that is what you call it as a citation. So, and you have to manage your citation because otherwise what happens is like towards the end, when you sit in for writing your thesis, you have to actually add your references and citation. Okay, so it will be very difficult for you to, manually type all these things. Okay, so normally people do is like you will give all the informations in your Word document, like there will be option for name, journal, but which you have to physically type it. So here, what you can do is it automatically comes if you wanted to give some citation, citation changes, which you can do it. Okay, normally we use APA style 6th edition, American Psychological Association 6th edition. So you just click on that. So normally the citation and references will be in that particular format itself. Okay, so it will be very easy for you when you do it in the initial stages itself. Especially when you give it for some, when you write some papers. For example, you write some papers for one particular journal. What you will be doing is like you will be designing that particular paper according to the requirement of that particular journal. So what happens is like if the journal don't accept it and then if you have to send it to some other journal, they might have different style. Okay, so they might be asking for some other references style. If so, Then what you can do is you can automatically change the citation style here, and the software will automatically change it. Otherwise, it will be very difficult for you to manually sit and edit all the 150 or 200 references which you will be quoting in your thesis. So it will be very difficult. So you have to choose one, and then you upload or do all the activities. And then even you can have other tools here. In the tools option, you can have other things like you can have a MS Word plugin. That is, this Mentaley will be automatically plugged in to your Word document itself, and you have a help option as well. I'll just show you later how it is being plugged in. And one of the important feature of Mentaley is the Mentaley web importer. That means in your website, in the website tag bar itself, the Mentaley will be plugged in. You can see it here on the right corner. You can see the icon of Mentaley. So what happens is, like, if you are reading this particular paper and you wanted to directly upload it into your Mentaley, you can click on that option. So you will have a list here. See, select all, add PDF if available. You can see the name of that particular paper. You give tick mark and give add. So automatically it will be added to your library, and there will be so many other options which is being shown towards the down portion also. So it's like, it's not that you have to actually download it and then you bring it to Mentaley. No, you can use this option to save it directly to the Mentaley. And then I've told you you have a plugin, Mentaley plugin in your Word itself. Like you can see here in the red box, which is a Mentaley plugin. So what happens is, like, when you write your thesis, or if you are writing your thesis in the Word document, suppose in between, if you wanted to cite someone, so what you can do is just click on insert citation. Okay, so when you click on that, there will be the options, the papers options will be coming down, and then you can choose one paper. So automatically the citation will appear. And at the end, in the references, if you wanted to add all the references, what you can do is just click on insert bibliography. So what happens is, like, automatically all the references in APA style. Okay, so because style we have given APA, so all the references in the APA style will appear. Okay, so that will be very easy for you to manage or write the thesis or papers as well. Okay, so these are some of the things which I've used for managing the literatures or organizing the literatures, and finally writing the literature review. Okay, so like I've told you, I'm not going into detail on how to read a paper, which has to be conducted as one session, and about writing a literature also, which has to be conducted as a separate session. But I'll just give you a brief outline on how the research paper look like, and how what are the areas or sections which you can see. So this will be the structure or format of a research paper. When you download a paper, you can see the title of the paper, author's name, and most importantly the abstract and the keyword used. Why this keyword is important is because you can even use these keywords when you wanted to search for some papers as well. And a lot of people will have a confusion on, like, maybe sometimes your guide will ask you to write an abstract, or sometimes they'll ask you to write a literature review. Okay, so towards the end of your coursework, you have to actually prepare a literature review project, and then you have to submit it. So what you will be doing is, you will be normally copy pasting it, which you should not do it. Okay, so this abstract or this paper is not for copy pasting. Okay, so what you have to do is, you have to read the paper, that is important areas, and then you have to write it in your own words, or you have to paraphrase it before submitting the paper. There are so many tricks, or YouTube in the YouTube channels you might see short videos on how can you remove plagiarism from your paper or thesis work, and also so many tricks and all, which is illegal, and you should not do that. Because once you send it to some papers, if they find out that you have used such techniques, what they'll do is they'll blacklist you ever. Okay, so such things you should not do. You have to actually read the paper in a smart way, and then you have to write it in your own words. That is what you have to do. So normally you can see an abstract, keyword, then you can see an introduction section, and then you can see a literature review section, and then you can see the methodology section, where you will be highlighting on what are the different methodologies which is being used. And then you can see a result and discussion session where you will see analysis of the data, and on the basis of that the results are being discussed. And in some of the papers you can see it separately as implication of the study, then what are the limitation of the study, and finally you can see the conclusion, okay, and references. Okay, so this will be the structure of a paper. This is what you will be going to read it. And then what you have to do is you have to actually paraphrase it. Okay, paraphrasing means you have to make it in your own sentences after reading it. Okay, so here you will have a doubt on when you write the literature review and all, how you should write it. Okay, so the most important thing is you should understand one thing is like traditionally what people used to say is like when you submit your PhD thesis, it should be with a bundle where you have 250, 300 pages. But my thesis was just 152 pages, including references. So why? Because I have heard from a lot of people. What happens is like normally when you prepare your thesis with which is very bulky, and you give unnecessary details or data in your thesis. What happens is like when you send it for evaluation, the evaluator seeing your thesis will keep your thesis what will happen if you have a bulky project with you. They'll say, okay, when I get the time I will correct it. But when they see a very compressed and whatever be the data which is very accurate, they'll also have an interest to correct it. Okay, so this is what I felt. Even my examiner, he was from IIM. When he came for the Viva, he told me, he actually told me like, your thesis was very compressed and small one. So I felt like, correcting it very fast. So that might be the reason why my thesis came back within a very short period of time. It has been corrected. Okay, so so you keep a very accurate information, and at the same time, what you have to do is, instead of giving a lot of unnecessary details in your analysis page, you give more importance to your literature review and theoretical background. Okay, analysis which you can learn from your statisticians or any other people, actually it's very easy, but a lot of people are very they have apprehensions regarding analysis. But literature review, nobody never used to give much importance, but that is one area where you have to actually concentrate it, and that is one most important area where you will be getting a lot of comments even when you write a paper or when you submit your PhD thesis. So you can group your notes, I told you initially, like either in a chronological order, that is from early studies to the later studies. And second thing is you can either arrange it on the basis of some school of thoughts, like some authors might have given some school of thoughts, right? So on the basis of that, you can arrange it, or you can arrange it on the method of the study. Okay, so it could be maybe qualitative studies or quantitative studies, or the type of studies, whatever it could be. On the basis of that, you can arrange it. Or you can arrange it on the basis of certain themes, like on the basis of various variables, you can arrange it. Or you can arrange it like how the study has been conducted in a global context, then in the context of our country. Likewise, you can, on the basis of some theme, you can arrange it, or you can also arrange it on the basis of some trends also. But make sure that whatever be the arrangements, you have to mention the history to the current situation. That is how it should be flowing. That is, you have to say your history to the current situation. And one of the important feedback even I have received during my thesis viva is that when you write this literature review, what you have to do is, he asked me to write in such a way that it should arrive at a hypothesis. Okay, so which you will be learning in detail when you are in your later stage of your research. Okay, so literature review should be arranged in such a way that it should be able to derive your hypothesis. Okay, so that is what he has suggested, but you can decide on whatever be the method you wanted to use. But reporting the literature review is not that you have a paper where he has mentioned something, the author has mentioned something. And please note that when you use in literature, even when you write the thesis or even when you write the, please don't use the word I, me, etc. Use the word researcher. If there are two people, then you use the word researchers. Okay, so that is the terminology you should be using. So you have descriptive reporting as well as you have interpretive reporting. That are the two. One technique is that you have these two type of reporting. Okay, so one is that in descriptive reporting, the author have discussed and found what has been in that particular article. But in interpretive, what you are doing is that you are interpreting the report. For example, I've told you when you should write, it should come from descriptive to interpreting. Okay, so for example, you can see here, this is from a study in 2015. Okay, so the author has stated that the destination can filter the information by considering so many factors. Okay, so this is what the author has stated. That is what I've said, it is descriptive. But how I'll make it interpretive? Interpretive is my language, that is, which is significant for understanding those factors which are more likely to create user-generated contents. Okay, so this is how you should write from descriptive to interpretive. It's not that you copy paste whatever the author have written and then you keep it in your report. No, it's not like that. You have to understand what the author has stated, and then you can state it. That is why you give the citation of the author, because it should not plagiarize. Okay, so if you wanted to write exactly what the author has mentioned, then you should give it in an inverted comma. Okay, so then you mention the descriptive statement and then you have to interpret it in your own words. So that is how you should connect it. That is one technique. So you have various languages. That is why it said, for when you write the research, you have a lot of languages to be used. So these are some of the language when you interpret something. Okay, so what the author has read after reading a paper, if you wanted to interpret it, this is how you have. These are some of the language or words which you will be using to interpret it. Okay, so this is important or significant because, or this calls attention to. Okay, so likewise you can interpret it. And then technique 2 is that you have to have description, and then you can actually give it in a critical style. Like it could be a deficit critic, or it can be a stronger critic as well. Okay, and then you have to say the solution. Okay, so description in the sense like what author has stated, and you can see critic. So in this study, you can see that how it has been criticized. However, her study is limited in its application as it has considered only 2 factors. So this is a deficit criticism. That is, the weak. They have criticized the weaker portion. Okay, and you can actually give the solution as well. That means it may have been more illustrative to broaden the scope of the study to the remaining 4 factors as well. This simply means that this author has studied only 2 factors, and what is our solution? Like we can study the 4 factor as well. So this is how you can come from descriptive to criticize to solutions. Okay, so this is also another way of reporting. So you can also use the language of critic and solutions. Like you can see, like I've told you, you can see the deficit critic as well as the strong critic. Deficit in the sense in a weaker session, like we are disagreeing to what the author is saying, not in the sense disagreeing, you are actually argumenting, or you say, okay, this is not exactly, but we have to add this. But in a stronger critic, we can say, okay, her study has significantly said this, or she has correctly argued it. That is a strong critic. And even then you can also give solution. Okay, so there is also language of giving solution. Okay, like the study would be more useful, or the findings have been more applicable. Likewise, you can also give the solution as well. Okay, so these are the 2 important things. Then all these other details which we have to actually go into a very detailed version. Like if I get another chance, I'll surely give a continuous classes on how to interpret it. And then another important thing which you have to have in your mind is plagiarism. Like you should not copy paste. What happens is, like now universities, before submitting their thesis, they'll have their own softwares. Mostly it is Turnitin, which has been widely used. So they'll be checking your thesis, or even if you give, send it for publication also, they'll have their own plagiarism checking softwares where they'll be checking it out. And if they find each universities or each journals have their own percentages. Some say okay 5%, some say 10%. It's been allowed, but more than that they'll not be able to, and they'll not accept it, and you will not be able to submit your thesis as well. So like I've said, you have to actually write it in your own words, or you have to use the citation, or you have to quote it, or you have to actually interpret it, and then you have to write it in your own words, and then you can also paraphrase it. So likewise, you have to reduce your plagiarism as less as possible. There are one of the most authentic plagiarism checking software is Turnitin. which actually, if you have to, use it, you have to actually pay it. But you can, if you are a continuous researcher, you can ask for their, what could be the possible rate if you subscribe for 1 year and all. Otherwise, most of the universities will be having this particular software. So once you start writing a literature review, once if it is in ready, I mean, not towards the end, but in the initial stage itself, you check for the plagiarism, so that it will not be a Herculean task when you come when you use this particular literature review in your thesis as well. And the most important thing is you have to check for your grammar, spelling checks, etc., which normally what we will be doing is like towards the end only we'll be doing all these things. But don't do that. Whenever you prepare the literatures, maybe if it is a one paragraph, just check it. And one of the freely available one is, like, as you all know, Grammarly, where you can check it, and find out most of the issues or grammar or spelling errors, etc. Okay, so you can use these particular softwares. And the most important thing is, like, for most of the people, what happens is, like, when they do their study, they'll use their laptop, and towards, after 3 or 4 years, some issue will happen with the laptop, and you may not have your data, whatever be the study which you have done, lot of issues. Okay, so whatever you do, just please save it in your secondary repository, whether it could be a Google Drive. Google Drive is one of the best option, or another separate hard disk, anything. Okay, so this is one of the important way to organize your literature review. So what happens is, like, if you go it in a systematic way from the beginning to the end, then half of your work will be done. Towards the end, when you write the PhD thesis, it will be very easy for you, because 60% of your work will be done only, last minute literature collections and all you have to add on and then do it. It will be very easy for you, so that it will not be a very tiresome task. Because, if you don't know the analysis part, actually you can approach a statistician. But what will you do if you don't know how to do a literature review? So spend most of your time in learning how to do a literature review, and then go systematically. So this is what I have to tell you. So this is a brief, explanation about how you have to do a literature review. So thank you so much. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. So if you have any doubts, please, you can ask.
Thank you, Meera. Thank you, Dr. Meera, for your excellent presentation.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Thank you. If you have any doubts, or see, these are all in actual literature review. Most of the people have to do it in, actually have to do or adopt a method which is very suitable for you. We can't say that, okay, this is one particular method. No, nobody can say that. Okay, so what I have experienced, or what I know, is what I have shared. So if you have any queries regarding that, I'll be just free to, talk about it. How to arrange the reviews year-wise, or any, please? I don't understand that question. Is it like how to arrange the reviews in year-wise? Deva Balin. I think, like, I didn't understand the question, but I think if you have to arrange it in year-wise, start from the beginning. That is when you review the literature. That is why I told you, you just check in for the meta-analysis paper, and then you will understand from which year they have started, and then you can actually arrange it towards year-wise, like maybe a 5-year period or 10-year. You can accordingly, chronologically, you can arrange it. That depends on the topic and depends on the area which you are studying. Other thing is, what if plagiarism appears on technical terms? See, what do you mean by technical terms? Can you just please tell me? Technical terms in the sense? Is it the technology?
Ma'am, if it is like for machine learning algorithm, we can replace it with another word, no?
Okay. See,
So,
see, for
if
the
it is something
words
like that,
and all, you will not get plagiarism. Understand? If suppose if you are copying and pasting the entire sentences or entire the data of someone who has already reported it, then that will be a plagiarism. It's not like you use certain machine language. It's a commonly used word, so it will not be shown as plagiarism. Is that clear, ma'am? Okay. And the other one is, in a thesis, ideally, how many reviews should be done? That depends on the topic, and that depends on the area of your study. So I cannot say an exact number. For certain people, their area, I mean, subject could be very few, so they have to stick into 100 studies. I mean, entire thesis study. Okay, so references could be 100, for some 150. So that depends on your topic. I cannot specifically say these many papers. Okay, so I hope nobody is having any other doubts. So I just request you to, learn all the towards. I mean, when you learn your coursework, you learn the technical terminologies which is being used in the research paper. So you will be able to read the research paper better. And you should also learn to, how you can, smartly read the research papers. That is very important, which you have to learn how to read a research paper. And how to write it also. Just develop those skills. That is what my suggestion is.
Yeah. See, I was attending this program without your permission. Okay. I just wanted to see how Meera is performing. Meera did PhD.
No problem, sir. We are very happy to see you.
I was listening from the very beginning.
Thank you.
I'm very happy. I just want to appreciate Dr. Meera. She has done an excellent job as far as freshers are concerned. She has given an excellent way how to start review literature. She has covered almost all sources, how to organize everything. I really appreciate Meera. It was a wonderful session for a beginner. So very, very, very nice session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. That is very surprising to see, to hear you.
We are also happy.
Okay, thank you, teacher.
Now I invite Ms. Anjana Maheshan, Assistant Professor, Department of Logistics, to propose the vote of thanks.
Respected resource person Dr. Meera Pradhavan and all the participants, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of Department of Logistics Management and faculty members, I extend our sincere gratitude to Dr. Meera Pradhavan for her very informative and wonderful session. And I hope the session was very useful to all, especially for the very person who was starting the research. Thank you, ma'am, for spending your valuable time with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also express our gratitude to our principal, Dr. Arjun sir, for providing an encouragement and support to us. Thank you, sir. Then I would like to thank all the participants from various institutions. Thank you all for accepting our invitation and being a part of our program. Next, I thank all our faculty members from MES College Maramballi. Thank you all.